Strat-O-Matic Excel Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Troller. 1972 to 1975.
Game 441, Mets at Marlins.
Welcome back, baseball fans. 1972-75 Carryover League. We got a series today in the National League East. The New York Mets and the Florida Marlins. Final series in the National League schedule before the All-Star break. Mets will take the lead in their division at the break, regardless of the results of this series between the Mets and Marlins. Marlins, of course, they don't exist in this timeline. We put a pretty fun bunch behind them, though. They play competitive baseball. Let's take a look and see what's happened. Game 1, we open up the series of a best-of-7 in Florida. The Mets are going with the number 4 starter, Harry Parker, today, against Steve Arlen, the number 1 starter of the Marlins. In this one, the scoring comes early. You get an RBI ground out by Chuck Goggin, 1-0 Marlins. Then the Mets get a 2-run homer by John Milner. Harry Parker and Arlen are pretty effective. Parker, 7 innings, 5 hits, a run, 2 walks, 4 Ks. Arlen, 6 1/3, 7 hits and 2 runs. And it comes down to the bullpens at the end, throwing goose eggs up there. Tub McGraw comes on in the 9th inning in a 2-1 affair and gets a hit and 2 strikeouts, and that's it. Great pitching performances, but the Mets get a road win in Game 1 versus the overmatched Florida Marlins. But even after a Game 1 loss, the Marlins aren't feeling overmatched at all. Let's go to Game 2. Can they even the series up? It's going to be Jon Matlack for the Mets. Matlack has been brilliant in the 3 previous seasons with this card of 1972. But in the year 2024, not so much. He battles Eduardo Rodriguez. In this one, bottom of the first, Manny Mota, solo homer. Top of the second, Staub walks, Marshall singles. They get the run on a ground ball. Double play, no RBI given. Bottom of the third, RBI single, Felix putting me on. Bottom of the fourth, RBI single, Celerino Sanchez, 3-1. And then Matlack and his bullpen finally fall apart in the 7th. The Marlins put up 4 runs. They win this game 7-2 to even the series, a game apiece. So now let's go to Shea Stadium for the first of 3 up there. Game 3. Rich Troedson, who has pitched on YouTube in the past and threw a brilliant start, I believe against the Braves, against Tom Seaver. And folks, this is a pitching masterpiece for both squads. Well, not necessarily Seaver. He's been in these rodeos before. Seaver gives up 3 singles in the 5th and a run. He throws a double to Chuck Goggin, RBI single, and he's down 2-0, and it's Rich Troedson with a 3-hit shutout, a walk and 7 Ks off of the befuddled Tom Seaver, who threw a complete game, 7 hits, a walk, and 7 Ks. Battle of complete games. The Marlins get the 2-0 victory. They're up 2-1. What is going on suddenly? After winning Game 1 on the road and expecting the Marlins to lay down, they have not. Now, before I get to Game 4 in Shea Stadium, I want to take you back to a Game 4 that happened earlier this year. The Mets played the Phillies and were down 2-1 in a Game 4 in Philadelphia, needing to even the series. And the Mets, the reason I'm showing you this, because in this special game, the Mets put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 31 men on base. And destroyed Philadelphia 14-6. 31. 31 men on base in a Game 4 to even that series at 2 games apiece. Let's flash forward. Game 4. Florida at Shea Stadium. Let me show you Game 4. The Mets put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. 31 men on base in a Game 4 to even the series. Throw that into your baseballreference.com computer and let me know if that's happened before. So back-to-back Game 4s, down 2-1. The Mets put 31 men on base. They win this one 17-3. They'll probably lose 1-0 in Game 5, right, folks? I don't need to go through all the scoring. That was enough to talk about for that game. So let's go to Game 5. The pivotal Game 5. And it's a good one. It is Ed Figueroa. He was a draft pick of the Marlins this year. He's still very young, very green. But they got him expecting the Yankee performances in their World Series years. That'll be coming if they hold on to him. He battles Matlack on short rest. Now Matlack pitches better today. Bottom of the second inning, 3 singles and a run for the Mets off of Figueroa. And in the fourth, single, double, single, and an RBI single, Bud Harrelson. It's 4-zip. Matlack gets through 7 innings. Gives up back-to-back doubles in the 7th. Leaves 7 innings, 3 hits, a run. And with a 4-1 lead, the Mets say, let's take a lead in the series by bringing in Tug McGraw. And he gets a 2-inning save. Wasn't particularly sharp. Gave up a hit in the 8th. A hit and a double in the 9th. As McGraw is he often does that. Puts men on base and tugs at the heartstrings of Mets fans. Nervous late in these games. But Tug gets the save. It's a 4-2 victory in a Game 5. Game 6 and 7 in Florida. They still technically, the Marlins, have home field, as each team has won a road game in the opponent's park. It is Game 6 today in Florida. And it is going to be Harry Parker. Again, he pitched in Game 1. Harry is 8-4 with a 3.34 ERA in 97 innings, 1973. If the Mets lose this game, don't worry, they have Tom Seaver in Game 7. And the Marlins will counter with Eduardo Rodriguez. He was a Milwaukee Brewer in 74. 7-4, 3.62 ERA in 112 innings. So this could be a battle of bullpens, possibly. A couple of inexperienced pitchers for our timeline. But otherwise, it's been a pretty fun series, all things considered. We are in Florida with the great Cuban music in the background. Mets, Marlins. Let's get started. Leading off for the Mets, it's Wayne Garrett. 54, homer 1 of 5, 2-base hit. Gil Garrido, 69, sky's the center. Tony Soleta, 1/7 a K, and with 2 outs. John Milner, 65, short X. And your shortstop, Goggin today. Oh boy, he's a 40-48, but he makes the play with 2 outs. Bottom of 1, it is Vic Davalillo, 2-11, short. Felix, putting me on. We are not. We're striking you out. And Felipe Alou, 52, flies left. Top of the second, it is Lee Lacy, 62. Second X, this is Mian at 2E10. Mian would eventually be a Met. He's with the Marlins now. Was with the Braves as well. Rusty Staub, 6'11". Left X, out in left field. Oh boy, you have... No, Davalillo's decent. 2E7. Makes the catch. And Dave Marshall rolls to third. Bottom of the second. It's Willie Montana. Willie Montanez, 38. Single 1 of 15 gets it. 1 of 15. Manny Mota, 2-7, is a 5-4-3 double play. Tough one. Luis Melendez, 53, right X. This is Rusty Staub at 3E5 in right field, and he's gonna surrender a double here. Runner at second, 2 outs for Chuck Goggin, 1/7 K. We go to the third. Jerry Grody to the max, 2-9 is double 1-2 base hit. Bud Harrelson, 1-4 skies the center. Back up top to Wayne Garrett. 2-8's a walk, 2 on, 1 out. Gil Garrido, 37's a walk, and the Mets have it going on with the bases loaded and a 1 out. And it's Tony. See you later. Let's take a look at Tony before he swings. The Mets went out and got this guy who just kind of fell into the wrong teams at the wrong time. Salado was a pretty darn good hitter in the middle 70s with the Kansas City Royals and the California Angels. Unfortunately, those teams happened to have John Mayberry blocking him and then Jim Spencer blocking him, and he had to be relegated to a part-time role. And the Mets said, no, you can have more of a role here in Shea, or in this case on the road in Florida. Bases loaded, 1 out. And here is the pitch to Tony Salado. 4-4 off Eduardo Rodriguez's third X. The third baseman is Sanchez, a 2E34. And it's a ground ball B that will score a run. They had the infield back. Fielder's choice, 1-0 Mets. Runners on the corners, 2 outs, John Milner. 2-11 rolls to first. So the Mets have a 1-0 lead. That's okay for the Marlins. It'll be Ellie Rodriguez, the catcher. 2-8, short. Celerino Sanchez, 47's a K. And Vic Davalillo, 47 is a K. Lee Lacy, top of the fourth, 1-5, short. Rusty Staub, 2-11, pops out. And Dave Marshall, 2-8, is single 1-10. Cannot get it. 1-0 ball game. The inexperienced pitchers are doing fine thus far. Felix putting me on. No, we're not. You're grounding out. Philip Alou pops out. And Montana. William Montanez, 48's a walk. Base runner for Manny Mota. 2-6 is a single dot. You got runners in the corners, 2 outs. And it's Luis Melendez. 33 flies to right field. We go to the fifth. Jerry Grody, 5'10", catcher's X. Rodriguez, a 2E14. That's a foul out. But Harrelson, 67, skies to right field. On the 2 outs. Wayne Garrett, 2-3, rolls back to the mound. A low-scoring affair in Florida. 1-0, bottom of the fifth. Let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
All right, bottom of the fifth. It'll be Chuck Goggin. 65. Rolls a second. Ellie Rodriguez, 5'10". Homer, 1-19. Doesn't have power. Base hit. Well, Marlins, that's the power roll, 5'10". You know where it is now. Or at least Ellie flashes that to the dugout. It'll be Celerino Sanchez. 2-7 is a 5. 4-3 double play to end the frame. Harry Parker, nice little start. Has put men on, but he has a 1-0 lead. As we go to the 6th inning, Eduardo Rodriguez and Parker, both starter 6s. Both relief 3 starter 6s. So we expect bullpens to get started here, even though it's a low-scoring affair. Gil Garrido, 45. It's a pop-out. Tony Salado, saw his card earlier, grounds a second. And John Milner, 4'10", center X. Who's in center field? You have Melendez is decent. He's a 3-4. He makes the catch. Eduardo Rodriguez and Mets. Look, don't make it so hard. For a first-place club, Mets have had the easiest schedule in the league, but you, like they often say, you can only play the team on the schedule. But you'd like to see this team win 4 out of 6, and I don't know. Don't know if it's going to happen. Marlins only down a run here. Frisky bunch, bottom of the 6th, top of the lineup. Vic Davalillo. 37 for Vic as a sky to center. We need to protect Parker a little bit from a loss. in a 1-0 game. I know he's throwing a shutout here, but watch this thing closely. Every batter. Felix Mian, 45 center. And Felipe Alou, 2-3, flies to left. And Harry Parker has other answers. He says, I can do this. I can take care of this. Harry. Harry doesn't mind, to quote Mark Knopfler. Harry doesn't mind at all. 1-0 game, briskly moving forward into the top of the 7th. It will be Lee Lacy for the Mets. 110, skies to center field. Rusty Staub, 54. Homer, 1-5, double the rest. It's a double. Now, this is, you got to start thinking about helping your starter out here with defense or relief work. Marlins, to their credit, have a pretty decent bullpen. Diego Segui, Tom Bergmeyer, Orlando Pena can certainly help Eduardo and company keep this game competitive down just 1-0. Dave Marshall, not exactly a scary hitter, so Eduardo will pitch to him. 1-5, grounds to second. Runner goes to third with 2 outs. Jerry Grody's the batter. Eduardo is better against righties, so he's going to bear down and pitch to him. 67 is a strikeout, and the Marlins get out of the inning with down just 1 run, 1-0. Stretch time here in Florida of a fast-moving game. We have been enjoying Iliad Ochoa's Chan Chan compilation, or Chan Chan, however you want to go with that. Let's play it. Let's pop it on his version. One of the million versions that exist of the brilliant member of Afro-Cubism and the Buena Vista Social Club and his solo career, Iliad Ochoa. Bottom of the 7th. Harry Parker continues. Tug McGraw, Acosta, Carruthers, Apotica, all available. And it'll be Willie Montanez will lead off. 6-12 rolls back to the mound. Manny Mota, 55 is a walk. And now, let's see, you got Melendez, Goggin, Rodriguez. You really want to protect Parker. Like I said, don't want the kid to lose. He's been pitching so brilliantly. But we'll leave him in there with a shutout theory. So here's Luis Melendez. 4-10, lines the first. And with 2 outs, it's Chuck Goggin. 2-7 is a grounder to first. Both starters continue into the 8th. Bud Harrelson for the Mets. 48, single 1-6, line out. Wayne Garrett, 43, right X. Mota's in right field at 3-2, and he makes the catch. Gil Garrido, 59, second C, and again the Mets don't help their young man out. 1-0 game in the 8th. Harry Parker, just like Rodriguez, will continue. A surprising 1-0 game based on the matchups. Ellie Rodriguez leads off. 56 flies to left. Celerino Sanchez. 1-3. Let's take a look at a card. I haven't seen one in quite some time. Celerino was a Yankee in 72. In half a season, he hit .248. Good range at third base. Does make throwing errors. 1-3 against a righty is double 1-14, and that is a 2-base hit. And now you got the lefty Davalillo, Mian, Alou, and Montanez, and I think they're going to pull the plug on Harry. Harry kind of minds. Harry doesn't mind. 7 1/3 inning, he does. He wants to finish it, but no. They're going to pull Harry Parker with a shutout, with a tie run in scoring position, because they have better pitchers, in theory, in the bullpen. You don't want Tug McGraw against the lefty Davalillo. You prefer Carruthers. They might just have, for 5 outs, have all 4 relievers pitch, perhaps. Don Carruthers. Let's take a look at Don. In the offseason, Danny Frisella, a righty who gets lefties out, was put on waivers And so they had to find that replacement, and it was this guy. A righty who gets lefties out, Don Carruthers. He was an Expo in 74 with a 5-2 record and an ERA of 3. He is in here to get this guy out at least, if he can. Leadoff hitter, Vic Davalillo. So Carruthers comes on in the 8th. Tying run at second. Vic Davalillo's the batter. And here is the pitch. 1-7 for Vic Davalillo. Let's take a look at his card. Vic Davalillo, one of the Pirates of 72, one of their bazillion outfielders who hit 300. Davalillo hits 318 and 72 for the Pirates, as did Gene Clines, as did Al Oliver, Stargell, Roberto Clemente. Just the list goes on and on. Eventually Richie Zisk, eventually Dave Parker. The outfield factory of the early 70s, Pittsburgh. Vic Davalillo, 1-7, double 1-10. We got a tie game. And Harry Parker buries his face in a towel in the dugout, leaving a game with a shutout and not even a victory. Davalillo, the lead run at second base, and now you got Millan and Alou. And now if you're the Mets, Carruthers is not particularly good against right-handed hitters. I think he's gone with a big no outs recorded. And we're going to go Cy Acosta now. Cy Acosta, the righty specialist who gets righties out in theory. In 73, he was a member of the Chicago White Sox. 10-6, 2.23 ERA, 97 innings. He has to keep Davalillo at second base with 1 out. He will face Felix Millan. Runner at second, 1 out. Here's the pitch to Felix Millan. 56, second X. Garrido at second. 3-8. He makes the play. Runner goes to third with 2 outs. And it's Felipe Alou. Let's take a look at Felipe before he swings. He was a Yankee in 72. Teammate of Celerino Sanchez in theory. Hit 278. Nice performance, mostly versus righties and lefties, which is where we're in now. The pitch to Felipe Alou. 38's the base hit, and the Met bullpen blows it. Alou's at first, and it'll be Willie Montanez with 2 outs. 2-10, a single dot, and with 2 outs, it's Manny Mota. 3-6 is single dot, and the Met imploding bullpen blows it with 4 hits out of 5 batters. It is now 3-1. Runners at the corners for Luis Melendez. 46, single 1-4, base hit on a 2. It's a wonderful day in Florida, as the Marlins are embarrassing the Met bullpen here with Tub McGraw waiting in the wings without an opportunity at this point. Chuck Goggin, first and second, 2 outs. He walks. They bat around. Bases loaded. And it's Eduardo Rodriguez. 2-10, grounds to shortstop. Your Florida Marlins rally, folks, and the rest of the National League takes notice. That Met bullpen ain't nearly as good as it used to be, even without McGraw being used. Carruthers and Acosta struggle. Ruin the day. It is 4-1, and they're going to just pull Eduardo Rodriguez after 8 shutout innings, 8 one-run innings, has no shutout to play for. They're just going to go straight to their closer, Orlando Pena. And they're also going to bring in some defense. If they can, Mario Guerrero. He's a reasonable shortstop. He will come in for Alou. Play shortstop. Alou was the DH. And they'll move Chuck Goggin to DH. 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits, 5 off the bullpen. And it'll be, I guess Carruthers will be the losing pitcher in this one. It finishes 4-1. Orlando Pena in the 9th now. Let's show you Orlando. Orlando Pena. Nice little story on him. Pitched in the 50s and 60s for some bad teams. I think the Kansas City A's, maybe the Washington Senators. and then was out of the game for about 5 or 6 years, and then he's 40 years old and returns in 1973 for the St. Louis Cardinals and puts up 62 quality innings, 4-4 with a 2.18 ERA for the 73 Cardinals. Has a 4-1 lead of the ninth, trying to force a Game 7. It'll be Tony Saleta leading off. 42 rolls a comebacker to the mound. 1 out. John Milner. 67's a base hit. Lee Lacy. 5-10 catcher's X. This is Ellie Rodriguez at 2E14. He gets a foul out, and with 2 outs, it's Rusty Stahl. We'll show you Rusty. Last chance for the Mets, down 3 in the ninth. Rusty, 72, was injured. This is his first year with the Mets. Hit .293, 9 homers, and 270 plate appearances. Actually, is better versus lefties than righties. Here's the pitch to Rusty. 39. It's a fly ball to right field, and the team that had 31. Think about this, folks. 31 base runners in Game 4 a few days ago. They lose 4-1. In Game 6, the Marlins will force a Game 7. So, Carruthers will be the losing pitcher because he gave up the second run in a 1-1 tie at that point, which is Devilio. So, Eduardo gets the win. Orlando Pena gets the save. The series is tied 3 games to piece. I'll play the Game 7. And it will be Tom Seaver versus, well, number 5 starter Ken Reynolds for the Marlins. Ouch. But who knows, folks? Who knows what's going to happen? You're going to have to wait a moment as we pause now, and I'll be back with the results of Game 7. Stay tuned. Well, baseball fans, here's the box score of Game 6 that you just saw. The remarkable comeback in the 8th inning by the Marlins off the Met bullpen to win 4-1. And Eduardo Rodriguez got 8 innings in with the 3 hits, the single run, his best start of the year, 2 walks, 2 Ks, and Orlando Pena a hit in the 9th for a save. Harry Parker, 7 1/3 innings, does get charged for that 1 run the bullpen put on his record, with 5 hits, 2 walks, and 4 Ks. Carruthers, the double. That's the difference of the game. That's the loss, even though Acosta in 2/3 gave up 4 hits and 2 runs. 4-1. All tied up, 3 games apiece, setting up a Game 7. Tom Seaver, who lost the last time he pitched. Remember that one? Stunningly. He got out-pitched by Trodsden. But Trodsden can't pitch on 3 days rest, so it's going to have to be Ken Reynolds versus Tom Seaver. A mismatch. Let's see what's happened. Fascinating. One of the more fascinating baseball games I've ever played. Tom Seaver versus Ken Reynolds in a Game 7. The Mets know what they need to do. Get out to an early lead and book their playoff tickets, whatever you wanted to say. First inning. The Mets come out. A walk. Fielder's choice. Lee Lacy, 2-run homer, 2-zip. A Bobby Darwin double. RBI single Jerry Grody. And Ken Reynolds and the Marlins are down 3-zip. It stays that way into the 4th. Top of the 4th inning, Duffy Dyer gets a double, is stranded there. And Ken Reynolds completes 4 innings, and there's some talk in the dugout of possibly quick hooking him and just going to a better bullpen versus a weaker starter for the duration. If they can rally. Can they rally? Bottom of the 4th. Felipe Alou singles. Willie Montanez hits a double. They decide to run off of the +1 arm center fielder Don Hahn, and he scores. Then a Manny Mota single. They decide to run off the +1 center fielder Don Hahn, and he scores. A single, a walk to load the bases, but Seaver gets out of it with a ground out, and it's 3-2 after 4. This is all paint by the numbers, folks. So the Marlins say, okay, that was the plan. We're going to go to our bullpen now. We're going to start with Diego Segui in the 5th inning. I'll just jump through this. Segui, 3 scoreless innings. We go to the 8th inning. Okay, he has to leave. Meanwhile, Tom Seaver's putting up goose eggs, as you can imagine. But in the 8th inning, they go to lefty reliever Tom Bergmeyer. He gets the first out. The number 4 hitter, Bobby Darwin, a former Minnesota Twin who had 22 home runs that the Mets got in free agency, hits a solo shot, and it's 4-2. It's the Mets, Marlins, what do you expect? Bottom of the 8th, Seaver, of course, still in there. It's a double Felipe Alou. RBI single Manny Mota. Didn't have to run it with single ... Makes it a 4-3 game. In the 9th inning, the Mets have Duffy Dyer fly out. And then it is a strikeout here to Saleta. And then Orlando Pena comes in to face the right-handed batter to get through the 9th inning. One more thing I got to mention here that I forgot just moments ago. In the bottom of the 8th inning, in a key moment, there was runners at first and second with 1 out in the 4-3 game. And Chuck Goggin rolled pitcher X versus Tom Seaver. Tom Seaver's an E25 pitcher with his Cy Young card of 73. That's pretty bad, actually. But he turned to double play. So the Mets got a huge break, and the Hall of Famer got the double play when he needed it. But let's take you through the bottom of the 9th, folks. You got your choice, Tom Seaver or Tug McGraw. How do you want to finish Game 7? Either guy. We're going to go Seaver in this situation. And the first batter, Celerino Sanchez, pops out. Then you got Mario Guerrero. It's time for a pinch hitter. They go Jose Pagan. They get the 4-4 off the Seaver card. That's the power roll. But against the righty, it's just double single. To the credit of Seaver, it's a single. Still not a big deal in a 4-3 game. But Vic Davalillo, that 312 hitter, off his card rolls single ... That puts runners on the corners with 1 out. And you got Felix Millan. Now, we know he's right-handed, and Seaver just dominates righties. So what are you going to do, folks? Are you going to do the squeeze play to tie the game in Game 7? You are! And he executes the squeeze play. The run scores. It's not a single. It's just the effective squeeze. Seldom do I ever do a squeeze play. I usually only do them for home teams, down a run late, and that's exactly the scenario. So it is a single. Excuse me, it is the successful squeeze, and the game is tied at 4. But then Felipe Alou singles, so there's runners at first and second, and Seaver's still not broken yet, so the final batter, it was first and third. A successful squeeze moved Davalillo to second. Millan was retired at first, so there's a runner at second with 2 outs. And Felipe Alou rolls ground ball second X. And the best second baseman the Mets employ is Gil Garrido, who's a 3-8 second baseman. He rolled the single ... to score the runner from second, who moved up on the squeeze play, to walk the game off 5-4 in the bottom of the 9th. So, folks, tell you what, if you got an Abe Bunner, the idea of squeezing games in Strat-O-Matic ain't a bad gig. It's 2-7 for success, and that's what we rolled. We rolled a 5, so it was successful. The other part of it, if you can squeeze with runners on the corners, which is the perfect scenario, the guy from first gets to go to second, putting a runner in scoring position with 2 outs, and can score like he did on a single ... That was the perfect formula to outwit the Mets here, and Tom Seaver in the bottom of the 9th. Huge breaks for the Marlins after Seaver got the big break in the 8th on the double play off his E25. All in all, a fascinating chess match for an overmatched Florida Marlins squad against Tom Seaver, who really pitched, like you would expect him to pitch, but ends up losing 2 games in this series. Marlins win this game 4-3. Didn't think I'd be talking this much about this game, but it was just a fascinating bunch of strategy all cooked up. Let's look at the stats now. Year to date, the Mets are now 18-14. They're still in first. The Mets are hitting .261. They have a 3.56 ERA. Tom Seaver's 6-4 with 5 complete games. 2 of his 4 losses were in this series. He's still having an all-star worthy performance for the season. He has still been the Mets' best pitcher for the season. Tug McGraw, interestingly enough, is kind of frustrated he did not get into the final 2 games of this series with his team up a game going on the road. One of the theories or reasons I believe is that left-handed batters Vic Davalillo and Willie Montanez were coming up in both of those games, and they hit lefties very well. So that's another reason why McGraw wasn't used in those particular situations. It's all water under the bridge at this point. Continuing into the stats, we have a nice performance this year out of John Milner. 12 homers and 22 RBIs in a limited role because he platoons. He only has 73 at-bats. That's a plenty of power. We have 41 hits for Lee Lacy. He's 41 for 128. He's hitting 320. Lacy, Milner, Seaver, all pitching well. By the way, let me just back up a second on Tug McGraw. I told you he wasn't used, right? 7 saves, but guess what? He came into, or he finishes at the All-Star break with an ERA of 5.78. And that's because the lefties are killing him this year. So that's one reason to suggest that maybe you should limit the use of McGraw, particularly in comparison to Tom Seaver at this point. Seaver is much, much better than McGraw for value late. And let's take a look at your Florida Marlins. The heroes today. Florida Marlins are 13-17. That is outstanding. That's 30 baseball games, folks, of a possible 34. That means they're taking their opponent to the max most of the times, and they're just 4 games under 500. In theory, this should be the worst team in the entire sport. In theory, because they have to play in a division against 3 traditional major league teams. All other Toronto and Seattle and the 4 other expansion teams in the Mountain Division and the Ohio players don't nearly have a difficult a slate as the Marlins do have. They lead the competition for Commissioner Award. That's a draft pick for roster participation. 1,408 points. That's a factor of innings pitched times at bats of the most limited players. So that's 22 innings pitched for Orlando Pena, and it's 64 at-bats for Chuck Goggin. 1,408. The team who puts up the highest Commissioner Award total before the playoffs begin gets a compensation pick in next year's draft, the 33rd overall pick in the draft. What that means is that the Marlins, if they hold on and win that award, they trade their 8th round pick in the draft for the first pick in the 2nd round. Or they move up to the first pick in the 2nd round. That's a big deal when you're an expansion team. Moving forward through these stats, Orlando Pena, 3-1 with 6 saves, but he's got an ERA around 4.50. The club as a whole is hitting .274 with a 5.52 ERA. No other pitchers doing very well. Offensively, not a lot of power. 5 homers for Manny Mota, 19 RBI. Leading hitter, 38 hits for Vic Davalillo. Vic's hitting .319. He could be their all-star. Though I'm thinking Rich Trodson, who I've talked about a few times now, he's 4-2. He might be the all-star simply because he throws left-handed for a team that needs at least 1 representative. So, hey, it's a lot to talk about. In a summary, I understand that, but frankly, the Marlins did something remarkable by beating Tom Seaver in a Game 7 and beating him twice. Here's the current look at basically this is at the All-Star break in the National League. The Mets are now 18-14 with a 1.5 game lead. They'll play the Braves in the postseason tournament. Marlins will play the Phillies. Do the Mets at 562 hold on to the number 3 seed? Barely over the number 4 seed Vegas team. So that's sort of the seeding going into the postseason tournament. Pirates at 1, or the Giants. The Pirates get it? No, it's back to the Giants. Giants are back to number 1 because the Cubs faltered against the Pirates. So they're at 615 ball at number 1. And you see the winning percentages are so competitive that nobody's playing better than 615 ball. Giants 1, Pirates currently 2, Mets 3, Vegas 4, and then the Cubs and Reds are 5 and 6 right now in the National League if the playoffs were to start today. That's it today. Hey, when you talk about break up the Florida Marlins, folks. They ruin a nice series for the Mets, beating them 4-3. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.